Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of Tawheed and the Spiritual Unity of the Three Principles webinar series. This is a really good space actually to share with you all here. And today's topic is ego self and true self. I would love to really start with defining what we mean by ego self here and true self. And for me, ego self is really just what we think of ourselves to be, the image that we give ourselves, or the ideas that we hold into about ourselves. And most of the time, it really hinders us to see something new in life, with people, in a relationship, in our jobs. It just keeps us stuck in a really illusory mayhem that once we drop out of it, we come back to the second thing, true self. True self is the only thing there is. True self is infinite, always there, doesn't vary no matter what. Ego self does, because it was created, but because it was created so perfectly, we don't see that we are creating it. Thus, while we suffer our ego self, thus while we try to protect it and boost it and fight for it as if it's something to fight for, as if it's something separate of us that we have to defend. And when we do this, actually, we do suffer needlessly, innocently. Our self-defending the ego self that is illusory. How fascinating is this? So this is how I really see it, and I would love you, Harry, to share a bit on that, and then this is a group discussion. So please, guys, wherever you have anything to say, just raise your digital hand, and I'll unmute you, or you could unmute yourself. Go on, Harry. Good to see you. Got a nice tan.
Yeah,
it's in Mexico.
Yeah. I've been working on it. It's a lot of hard work, but it's coming along, and it's a treat to get a suntan.
Getting younger, Harry. Good to see you.
I like the sound of that. I feel Mexico has helped me tremendously, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Physically, for sure, and mentally. And as I mentioned before, stepping into the silence has attracted wisdom. And that's true self as well, by the way. When you attract wisdom, you're attracting the natural of who you are. And the silence works. When I first arrived in Mexico, it wasn't easy to step into the silence. I brought a lot of baggage. Unknown baggage would be the truth, and it took a while, but somewhere along the way, about 2 or 3 days, I started to notice I wasn't just listening to the waves, I was hearing the waves. They came in, they were just starting to, my mind was rolling with it. That's the state that you want to be, so that you roll with life, because Allah or God provides everything we need. But as Omar was suggesting, the ego self has a personal opinion about that, good and bad. That personal opinion turns out to be, in my life, the difficulty. So how did Sid define ego? Originally, he talked about it as poor me or dig me. So every time you do a poor me or you do a dig me, I'm so great, you're in ego. After that, he sort of said, well, now that you know what ego is, forget about it. And that's the best of wisdom. When I work with people in addiction, forget about it. They want to talk about it. They want to build on it. They want to understand it. They want to get more information. That's dig me. I need to know. I need to know. So then he said, forget about it. And then he just said, it's an image of self-importance. And then at the end of his life, he said, whatever you think it is, that's what it is. That's ego. So, and true self is what he talked about. The deep inner self was what he talked about in the original, was in Salt Spring type of thing. And from the topic we picked was picked, and originally it was Nafs, N-A-U-F-S, which is a Muslim phrase. And then it was said, no, your ego self and true self is not really all of Nafs. And Professor Abdullah Omar defines Nafs as the total, complete self. And he broke it down into four sections. Now, this is very primitive, guys, and I'm no expert in what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to give you it because it's helpful to see how the Muslims deal with the ego up to the true self, and then seeing Allah separate from that, and yet interconnected with that. It's very interesting perception. So the four nafs are, you have your ego naf, which a lot of Muslims think that's all the nafs there are. And then the second naf is blaming naf, where the first one is you're oblivious. The second, blaming naf, you become conscious that you're kind of being in ego. The third naf is true self. And then he says there's a fourth naf, the inspired self, which sort of takes you into creation and so on. And so we're looking at the complete person. And in the three principles, we might talk about the connection between the spiritual and the psychological, the union between the two, including the physical, the complete total self. Now, in my life, I'm just going to draw a little analogy of it, because I've written four books and just writing my fifth one. When I wrote my first book, A Leader's True Journey or something like that, I wrote it just for the Indian mind, native Indian indigenous mind, because that's what I thought I was going to be working in all my life. But then the second book, I wrote another native book, which I've just put out for people if they want to download it. And it was about the Alita as an elder alleviating suffering, and it was for the general public. And I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. And then addiction, and then I came on, and it wasn't what I was going to do. And then I got pulled into addiction. So then I wrote The Evolution of Addiction Recovery. And in that book, I was dependent on three principles, community and how to work with them. And I wasn't confident within myself, but I had a certain understanding, and I wrote that. And I thought, well, that's what I'm going to be. But then when I wrote the fourth book, I didn't need three principal people anymore. I was independent of that need. And I was writing about addiction from a metaphor that it was alleviating human suffering, and more from a spiritual perspective of how to approach the healing that is involved in addiction. So I thought that's what I'm going to be. And now I'm writing my fifth book while I'm here on holiday, Omar. It's Statements of Life. That's who I am now. Each time, you see, the Muslim world put it in 4 divisions. That was my steps, and that's who I am now. That's who I. And each time, Omar, I get a little closer to my connection to my friendship with God, my connection with God. And do I understand it? I trust it more. That's all. My true self and I trust God more. I trust less my personal opinion. Why? Because it's turned out to be a lot of horse manure, a tremendous amount of horse manure. So anyway, that's my little ramble about it. Maybe we could go around the room and ask people what they think.
Well, I love what you shared, Harry. While we wait for someone to raise their digital hand, I'll just share you know, something that I came across. Well, never came across this Rumi quote before, but it really, as always, rang a bell. And I just love how Rumi expressed like himself and his wisdom through words and poetry. So the one that I came across, I shared it on Facebook, and it goes like, once dust you are now, spirit, once ignorant now wise. He who has led you so far will guide you further.
That's exactly what I was said in 50,000 words. He said in a few words.
Absolutely, and that's why I brought it up, because it just makes sense to share it when you shared about you growing up and now thinking to, or maybe you already started writing your 5th book. Amazing, congratulations, Harry.
Oh, thank you, thank you. 9 chapters, Omar.
Oh wow, brilliant. The thing is that like, I'm just amazed by how like small we play in life when we are in our egos. I mean, with ego we are scared. With egos, with ego, we really don't have confidence in ourselves. With ego, we are insecure. We are judging ourselves a lot. I mean, like, when I think back about, you know, before start sharing this understanding and opening my own company, etc., you know, I was scared, you know, I was really playing small. I was in my ego. And I also was in my ego about understanding the 3 principles understanding as articulated by Mr. Banks. I thought that I understood it. And that really got me to a level where I felt like I'm stuck. Like, how come I understand this and I'm suffering here? And so I didn't know that that was my ego. You know, like, ego takes form of, you know what this is about. Like this camouflage effect, like we don't even see that it's ego. And the good thing here is that once I saw that I was in my ego, when I saw through it, I just started from scratch again. And I love keep sharing about this, because this is what it's all about. I mean, starting from scratch is coming back to our true self, basically. It's you know, like making a castle out of sand and then, you know, like destroying it and then making up something new with sand again. This is how I see it right now. And it's just beautiful, because we could play with the sand as we want. And the more we see through our egos, because like I still get caught up in my ego. Like, I'm not perfect here, like egoless all the time, with, you know, like my true self. And no, that's not true. And when I'm in my ego, I suffer that, whatever it is about. But the thing here is that, you know, with this understanding, it's really brought so much to me that I could see through my ego much quicker. And so if I'm being arrogant about something, I stop being arrogant about something. If I'm wrong and I don't see that I'm wrong, all of a sudden I see that I was wrong. And if I need to apologize, I will apologize. Like, whatever comes out of true self is the right action to take, really. Like, the thing about ego self is that it always you know, push us to, you know, like to prove ourselves, as if there is anything to prove, or there is any self to prove to people, or to to the world. But the thing here is that it's just it's the biggest illusion of life, really. And when we see through it and stop engaging with our ego self, we come back to our true self. And what's beautiful about this is that it's available for everyone. So I'm not the exception. Harry is not the exception. Maya is not the exception. Sharon is not the exception. Nobody is the exception here. This is for everyone, for every human soul. And that's what's beautiful about, you know, listening to truth, listening to Sydney Banks. It brings you back to basics. It brings you back to who you truly are, you know. And there, from that space, whatever comes is just beautiful.
Guaranteed. Money back guarantee.
Is that the premise of people when they buy your book? If they don't like it, money back guaranteed, people. There you go, you got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Ronnie, would you like to unmute yourself?
Thank you. Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking that there's a difference, you know, in the ego thing. Like, it's people who are, some people are more egotistic because it's like, I am always right attitude. Not everybody's like that, is there?
That's right.
So I think the people that are more giving and sharing type, they don't have this big ego that we talk about, because ego can be misunderstood. When we say the word ego, some people just take it as the show-off person, but ego everyone has, but at different standards.
It's true, Ronnie, but so someone who's, let's say, heavily addicted may actually have a relatively small ego and be a big sharer, but this one thing, this one negative pattern is holding them from being free to step like a flowing river with God.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That really does, because they're so engrossed in the addiction that they're not utilizing their full value.
Well, they are utilizing their full value, but not, so like one person I knew with addiction saved 50 people's lives that the system could not do. They would overdose and they go around and they talk them through it and save their lives and do all this wonderful, beautiful work. But of course, for themselves personally, they were still suffering.
All right, yeah. That is a serious one. That's like, be able to help everyone else, but can't help yourself because you don't value yourself. He or she was not looking at their spiritual side. They could see the good in everyone else except themselves.
Well, and their heart was good, but we would say in the three principles, they didn't have an understanding about thought and how their negative thought creates their negative suffering.
Exactly. Yeah. I suppose when you're addicted, you don't have time to think about that.
Sorry, what did you say? I missed it.
I said, I suppose when you're addicted, when someone is addicted, they don't have time to think about it.
Well, they're only, when they're addicted, they're like you, they go up and down. It's just that they're controlled by an urge or a negative thinking pattern, like you are, like I am, like Omar is, but it's a more extreme thing. It's a little bit like I'm in Canada, but the Ukraine is war, Canada is peaceful. So they, of course, have to deal with more harsh circumstances than I do, but they can be happy in Ukraine and they can be happy in Canada. And as you know, In Fiji, some people are happy and some people are not happy.
Majority are happy there.
They are. They
And
have a,
without the drugs.
well, there you go. Now that's
friendly
the
atmosphere.
yeah,
I
there's
think
the
the drug there is the family atmosphere in the air.
yeah, well, a positive drug. Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful culture. There's no doubt about it. Beautiful.
And I blame the mangoes.
Okay. Well, here we'll I can't argue with that. Can we get off mango now to somebody else talking?
From mango to burrito now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Ronnie.
One of the things, Omar, that I just read from a wise indigenous woman's book was, she said something that I had never even considered. We need ego to be here, and it keeps us centered. If we were always just in a true self spiritual space, we'd float away into nothingness. But the ego actually keeps us physically here to be here. And we know it gives us contrast, because we need contrast to compare happy versus sad. But it's actually a psychological and spiritual requirement for us to be here to have ego. And I thought that was interesting, because we always think of ego as bad, but if it's necessary, it's like I tell people, you have to love all your thoughts. Well, they immediately go, do I have to love my ego thoughts? Of course, it's just an interpretation of what the thought is. You don't really have a bad thought. You have a interpretation, which then creates a psychological feeling. And then you start to whine and complain and worry. And then you experience stress, and then you look for relief of stress, vis-a-vis a drug, a beer, a sex, etc.
Like when you said this, Harry, just what occurred to me is that it's like having a good relationship with ego, really, because it's true. Like ego is there sometimes it's not. But it's part of this worldly things that we have, like as human beings, and this is the human experience, and we cannot be enlightened all of a sudden and seeing it completely, and the veil is unveiled for everybody. Maybe a glimpse of it, because like I think this is something that like we have to find in this life.
Very important. As an ordinary human being, we are not perfect, and we have to accept ourselves for who we are, with flaws, which we have to learn more and more about to let go. We have to understand that we are not all powerful. We are vulnerable, and we need other people. We need God. We need all these things. And to learn, like Sid often said, we learn the most, Omar, when we accept that we don't know. And yet everybody around the world is going around saying, I know. And I don't know is the best learning state you have. Then you're open to receive.
Yeah. But sometimes our ego says that I know.
Yeah, it doesn't sometimes, it says always, I know. That's the problem.
The ego is like is a wisdom block.
Yeah.
Good. It's really
it's an illusion.
Yeah, I mean, it is an illusion. And like when you said about it's good to have ego for this earthly life, this world of form, etc. Having a good relationship with ego reminded me of you know, when I had that experience about insecurity, and I saw that security is being okay with insecurity. And I think it applies also to ego, because, you know, ego is insecurity. It's like when you're in your ego, you're insecure because you're trying to protect your image of yourself in that moment. And that that kind of thinking is what we call insecurity. And so I think having a good relationship with ego is what brings us back to true self.
That's it. It's a positive feeling about who you are.
That's right. And we've got
It's
Xander.
interesting.
already.
It comes under that. It comes in the recognizing your ego, sort of being in the present, and it also comes in what do you call it? In not inside out.
Outside in.
Yep. The other one, what is it called? The one with the third party involved? I forgot the name of that. You know, where you are like, okay, recognizing your ego is like checking your ego all the time. You know, in being aware of it. In for example, in a matter of conversation with someone or something, or your action towards someone, being aware of it, and then recognizing that you are not throwing your ego on others, you know, and things like that, pushing your ego like.
Sid
like
would
you
say,
said,
Sid would say, don't do that. Don't, what you just said, don't do that.
yeah,
Forget about it. Forget about it. Live, be happy, enjoy.
just be yourself.
Oh, can't do better than that, Ronnie. Honestly, you know, you're different than me, but when you're just yourself, you're cool.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens in Fiji. Everyone's so much themselves. No one really fights with each other. Really, because I think I was brought up that way. And when I came to Sydney, one of the first things I found strange. I was walking down the street, and we just smile. Back home, we just smile and say good morning to everyone, or we just smile. So I was at a set of lights, and this guy walked up to the lights, and I just smiled naturally. And so he looked at me and he said, "Do I make you smile?" I said, "I smile to everyone." And then we crossed the road. When we crossed the road, then as I was walking further, he walked up to me and said, "Oh, can I take you out?" And I said, "Oh, now I know I shouldn't have smiled at you." But the first time someone asked the question, "Do I make you smile?" I mean, to me, coming from Fiji, it was like, what? People don't smile?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
in the Islam society, smile is one of the what you call you get rewards for smiling. So a smile is one of the good deeds.
Oh, it can't do better. A smile, a genuine smile, not these salesmen selling you a car smile.
Oh, I got that one too. I got a story on that one because I worked in the bank. I worked in the bank, and you won't believe it. Another thing I couldn't understand is during the training, they're trained to smile. They're told how to smile, and I thought, how can they make it up if they can't smile? If they don't know how to smile, how it'll look so fake. They just train them how to smile, and it's like, oh God.
Yeah. So we have excuse me, Ronnie, but we have Van der Zempt holding his hand up for a little while.
Yeah, I found it really cool to have this how to smile training program.
Yeah, they actually pull their lips and go, you smile like that. And I thought, I bet all of them girls it will look horrible. They actually fake smile looks horrible.
It doesn't, it's not genuine. And it's so a real smile is energy that goes from your heart into their heart or into their soul. It's a natural transfusion of positive energy. It's genuine. Artificial one creates a body language that looks good, but it doesn't impact, it doesn't change anything. It's hollow. And that's why when you're yourself, Ronnie, you help other people in silence rather than talking, because you're
Oh,
transmuting.
my friends know that, because not only friends, even if I meet people the first time, I've got arms wide open and all 32 teeth showing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just comes to me. There's no other way I can meet people, you know. I just go hi, I just go all in. And I get warning from friends, and also used to get warnings, people saying that, oh, you're too open, but that's where I am. You can't help yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
I
So
would love to hear
Xander,
Xander.
yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
Xander. Thanks for your patience.
Not a problem. Listen, give me some time here. I do speak quite slowly, so just allow me to finish, right? So for some reason, I've spent most of my life getting worked up about that, and I normally try to speak fast, but I don't want to do that here, because what I'm about to say is actually quite, well, anyway, right? It's so important. I don't mean that, right? But it might take me a while to express what I have to say. And I wanted to say, Harry, I thoroughly enjoyed your introduction, if you will. And what was that word? Not Nafs, not Nafs.
Nafs is the Muslim word. A lot of Muslims think it's just ego, but Professor Abdallah defines it as the complete person, the complete.
I heard that. Yeah. What I wanted to say is, I've got a quote here. And it was Carl, one of the earliest psychologists, Carl Jung, said, the first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. Now, I just found that quote just probably about a month ago. And what stood out for me was, what he said is, this first half of life is spent, the quote's gone, it's not, let me see, forming a healthy ego. He doesn't just say ego, he says the first half of life is spent forming a healthy ego. Well, what is a healthy ego? That's maybe a different discussion, right? And the second half is letting go of it. And what come to me probably about October, November, was that I was hearing people probably for the past, well, since 2012, really, when I had a what I can only call a profound experience. I've always called it that. And I didn't come to the three principles until 2018. So, or 2019, sorry. And what I come to about probably October this year was that I was hearing a lot of people talking about my true self, you know, finding your true self. And increasingly over time, it started to bother me, you know, because I'm aware that we have this ego, and I used to live with that. You know, I was one of the most egocentric people I knew, right? I mean, ego, wow, I was massive, right? I was no humility whatsoever, right? So it's taken me 30 years, and I'm still not quite there yet, okay? So what come to me was, okay, we are this spiritual being having a human experience. That's already been said, and it's done and dusted. So yes, we are. We are this ego. It's a real experience. Sorry, we are this spiritual being having a human experience. And I heard people saying the human experience, you know, it's an illusion. Well, I know how. If you study, I don't study, but I do follow some neuroscientists, and what they say is that the brain interprets what we perceive with the five senses. The brain interprets it, so it's really not real because it's only an interpretation of the brain. But the human experience, what I see is that the human experience is real. If you slap me, I'll feel it. Right? So, and I might even have an emotional response. So that experience is real. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to find a way to, what I come to understand is that whilst I'm in this body, it's like two parts of the brain, one being materialistic and the other being more spiritual, and use your own words there. I don't really understand it, right? But it's integrated, it's fully integrated, it's one whole brain. So if I am a spiritual being having a human experience, then in this lifetime, that's who I am. That's my true self. And it's only when you I don't know, I can't say who qualifies and who doesn't, but that's what I've come to see. And it's only after 30 years of being on this quest, I no longer call it a spiritual journey, right? A journey implies a destination. When Harry went into Mexico on holiday, he had a destination. During this lifetime, I don't have a destination. In fact, the final destination was already determined before the day I was born, right? I was destined to die, right? It's part and parcel of the experience. And then I go back to this fully spiritual experience. But during this lifetime, what I've come to see is that spiritual or truth, or the search for truth, no longer a spiritual journey, but a search for truth, is that I can form a healthy ego, and also I can understand truth and be drawn to that, and make it the reason for my living, the reason for being alive is the search for truth. That's my own. I don't know what your reason is. Find it for yourself, right? But I'm just living my life, and that's my goal, is to be a fully integrated ego with spirit. I cannot, if I deny the ego, that's ill health. That's mental ill health. And if I deny the spirit, well, that's mental ill health. So it has to be integrated. And so everything that has been said so far kind of, has clarified what I have come to without much discussion with anyone. And, just to have it clarified just by the people in this discussion is, it's like, yeah, okay, I must be on the right tracks here, okay? Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I have. That's what I wanted to.
Well, that's really beautiful. If you think you're going to have ego, it's just they're just, and to have a healthy relationship with who you are, and if that is who we are, thinkers with it brings peace if it's a fact, Xander. It doesn't matter about the words, whether you use the word healthy ego, which is not quite the word I would use, but when you're talking about it, it makes total sense to you. And that's what's important. And you have a healthy relationship with yourself and your ego and your spiritual, you're going to have a gifted life. And you found that out, is that this terminology works for me because it's a fact, it's true. It's not because it's a good idea or it's even brilliant. It's that it's a fact that works. I always come down to, can I hold on to it? Like, does it, or is it just, it's just a concept? Truth is not a concept. And you have found that. And that is the most powerful finding in the universe, the most powerful. You're finding really, you're uncovering yourself the same as I'm uncovering myself. And as you find out, you're just a baby. I'm just a baby, in diapers, no less, who poops and pees. Yeah, and every once in a while, someone has to come along and help me and change my diaper.
Xander, thank you for what you shared. It really resonated with me, and you know, like I just remembered something that Sydney Banks said about ego. And he said that the ego can never really leave us. We just learn how it works. And yeah, I mean, we cannot really get off ego. It's just a part of the human experience. But when we know how, when we learn how it works, we don't get tricked by it often. And I think this is the part where I could say that, you know, this is healthy ego, because ego is wherever I think ego is also. And, you know, when I get hurt, like this is something, this was huge for me, Xander, and this is just me. But when I'm hurt about someone talking about something in a way that I feel uncomfortable or hurt, that's the ego in me. And I'm not seeing it, because we cannot really be hurt. Like, we really cannot be hurt. Who we truly are can never be hurt. And so it's just our trying to protect our self-image, our egos basically, is what's is where this feeling of hurt is coming from, really. And I actually would love to share this by Sydney Banks. Well, this is really long, but I'll just read through it. When I heard Xander talking, I wanted to bring it up, and I'd love to share it with you. So this is Sydney Banks talking in January 1978. The 22nd of January, 1978. I don't know what's the name of the tape, but this is what he said. You can see all over the world, it's happening all, well, I'll just start from where it's gonna make sense to you, because like he was speaking about psychologists and psychiatrists. Okay, the words from the past mean nothing. It's the same thing over and over again. What you've got to do is get yourself somewhere where somewhere along the line, a voice says, no, halt, turn about. And you turn about and you say, oh, of course. And all the words that you've ever read before will all take a different appearance. It will be like magic. They will become alive because you are no longer talking words. You're talking fact. And the fact is so simple. It is utterly simple. You would be totally insane to deny it. A fact appears when the ego collapses on a particular subject. And there is trillions of subjects, so the ego can never really leave you. You just learn how it works. And once you learn how the ego works and it appears, you will laugh. And it's because you know you're just playing a cosmic joke in life, and here it vanishes again. There is only one time, literally, there is only one time in a human being's life that you can totally leave the ego. And that is when self-realization, the realization of God, or the great oneness appears, the great nothingness appears. They are all the same thing. Only then, for that split second, but you can't lose it because it's yours. It is you. It's only pretends to say, lose your ego. But that's the way it is, because the pattern in life is a corporate pattern of thought. It's a pattern of thought that and matter, like Einstein's theory of relativity. This is a pattern of salt spring. Only the people are not talking about it. They have found it without trying. They are going back. They are finding their true youth. I'll just stop here because it's really long. But yeah, I hope that this made sense, Xander. Just beautiful. Wow.
Go ahead, Ruby.
I'm just going to share what I see as ego. Ego to me is non-existent. Even we think, and many times in the day that we think it does exist, it really doesn't exist. And so this is something that I kind of woke up to. So I've got nothing to let go because it doesn't exist. But we create our non-existent experience constantly, many times in the day. And the moment we realize that it is the ego, which is non-existent, an illusory thought that we have created in the first place, the moment we wake up, the moment we realize that that's what it is, that's when suddenly it disappears. And the moment it disappears, wow, oh, I'm here in the present moment with Allah. I'm here in the present moment, and that's all there is. And the true self is who I really am in the first place, which is the real me. So when I'm stuck in the illusion, the ego that doesn't exist, then I'm creating all sorts of movies and dramas who I am. And the suffering and the trauma carries on. And the moment we wake up again, oh, boom, where's the ego gone? Oh, it was really something that I just made up. So if we're making something up, it's not there in the first place. So the ego covers the illusory kind of like, part of me, who I think I am. And the moment I wake up, wow, who I really am is already there. I'm already connected, and I'm already so connected with the divine, which the ego has been covering up like constantly again and again, which is my ego, which is made up in the first place.
It's just levels of consciousness. At a certain level, who we are in our thinking, and then in another level of consciousness, we're in what I call the us mind, where we leave who we are and become one, and with the feeling, one with the healing, one with, and we don't, I don't understand how it works, but I see that it does work, and then I trust it, and then I guess the understanding follows that this is the way it works. It sort of proves itself that it works this way, and it allows us to keep going into it. On this trip, I mentioned, Ruby, that I've experienced deeper levels of silence that didn't come easy, like not, wasn't. But what I have noticed is that as this silence, or this, what you were talking to, what really is true, the more I accepted that, the easier it was to hear the waves of the ocean. And when I didn't accept it, it sounded awful noisy. Life is like that. Obviously, so that's why Sid says change thought. As soon as you change thought. One morning, Ruby, I was in bed, waking up, grumpy. And I caught that I was grumpy. I changed thought. I looked out the window, and these bougainvillea were all outside of my window. Beautiful, beautiful. I'd never seen them before. The bougainvillea was always there. I wasn't. And when I came and looked and saw them.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And that quote, Omar, dynamite, not good, dynamite.
Yeah. And I see as becoming one, really, I see as a waking that we are already one. Because
It's just a different angle towards the same thing.
we already are one.
Yeah. We already are, so we awaken.
To see.
But for me, I'm more a feeling type of guy. I just like to be in it. I don't really like to understand. I don't even like to think about it. I just like to be in it. And that's to me the most fun, you know. I'm like a butterfly.
Yeah. Love it.
Can we hear from somewhere else?
Hi, I think I can talk now.
Oh, yeah. You kind of sense it. You sense that I will pick on you, right?
I don't know.
Did you see my?
Yes, I thought I had something to share, so I don't know what's going to come up, but we'll see. I think it's just so interesting and well, just to observe and be curious about the different kinds of ego and experience with ego and how it comes and goes and how the suffering comes and goes. Like I've been watching different areas of my ego dropping, and it really proves, like Ruby said, it's nothing, because once it's there and then it's gone the next second. So that means it cannot be anything, like for real. But it's easy to build another story about yourself. And like when I told my mom about this journey and about that I was working on sort of letting go of my ego, what she said was that she didn't notice that I was egotistical or that I was acting in a way that she would interpret as ego. Well, that in a sense that was just her interpretation of what ego is. Like you said before, Harry, it's different things, and I think also, what's his name, Ronnie, talked about that you can interpret different kinds of behavior as egotistical. But and I agree with her that I was totally unselfish and self-sacrificing. I did everything for everybody else. And that was my story. So yeah, and I just started noticing that ego shows up in really subtle ways, and it's really sometimes hard to see it, but suddenly it's gone. In one area, that is. And I do agree that there is the necessary part of having an ego. And I remember the first time I heard somebody said that you got to love your ego, like include it in love, because love is everything. That means it also created your ego, and that is you. So it's just, there is still no separation. Yeah.
If we could all see ourselves through the eyes of your mother, we would be a lucky person.
She is one loving woman.
Obviously.
Yes.
Thank you, Maya. That was beautiful. Anyone else? Someone we haven't heard from yet.
Well, there's Sharon.
I would disappoint Harry today if I didn't talk, maybe. I've heard so much. I always have a difficulty articulating, but I get a great feeling, and it will be within me the rest of the day. I always see. I don't know how to define my ego, but I feel like it comes out as fear or insecurity, and my alarm is this is not a good feeling. And then I realize I try to stop and try to listen to my true self, that don't go on that tangent, that's not a good feeling. I don't have a good feeling about something, my real true feeling, and it's not telling me the truth. So I try to relax, calm in, seek the silence, look for the silence, and just let it happen naturally, and that this will pass. One of the joys of being in this understanding is not having to analyze. Oh, I woke up in a bad mood. The whole day's ruined. I laugh now because that used to be my pattern. To go with it. So that was my ego. It's all about you. It's because I used to think ego was more that you had a big ego and you thought a lot of yourself, but that isn't necessarily true. But anyway, the feelings. I trust my feelings now, and I don't try to figure out why I did something. Why am I feeling this way? Because I know it will pass, and that is such a joy. Because I used to have such a hard time with change, and I'm like, thank God there's change, because this feeling will go, and then I'll come back into the calm, nice feeling, and and it's not all about. We all are. And I'm still not articulating like that. That's how I feel. Yeah, things will come to you. You don't have to analyze them. You don't have to go with what the first thing in your head, because that could be the ego. I'm always right. I can control everything. And I laugh at that because I never thought I could control things. But that's part of my ego. And I can't control everything. I don't want to. So I just try to let it go. Or not try, just happen. Once I calm down and listen for the silence. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Beautiful.
Well, maybe this is a good place, Omar, for us to wrap, each have a final comment about it, and then, or anybody else, of course, who would like to, and.
Well, I would love to hear from someone else before we end this interesting and beautiful conversation. Anyone else?
If you share, you grow. That's all I know.
We have a quiet audience today.
Yeah,
Hello.
Oh, Hi.
That was my initiation. That comment.
Well done.
If you share, you grow.
How do you pronounce your name? Mie Maria?
Yeah.
Mie Maria.
Nobody.
Good to have you with us.
Ooh, a beautiful name. I've never heard it before.
No, I'm the only one with that name.
Well, that's even better, you know.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
you unique.
Yeah. Well, I sort of just popped in and heard about this from Maya, who I know a little bit. So are we just sharing
Anything that comes to your heart.
I am sensing a really, really, deep sense of knowing what is really right and what isn't. And since I started opening up to the 3 principles, this sense is just getting deeper and deeper. And I can just really feel when I get insights, messages from this place. And then daring to go with it and see how it unfolds in ways that feel really just right. Yeah, guess that's what I'm sitting with mostly right now, and what I'm sharing. I work with women who want to free themselves from birth trauma and birth in ways that feel right to them. So connecting that to that, like birth is a deep, deep knowing that women carry. And since I started applying that in my work and in myself, I see more freedom on the inside and in birth, in that epic moment in a woman's and a human's life when they're initiated into this earth. So I'm as I speak, I guess I realize how to be born in peace is support humans to be born in peace using the 3 principles. It makes the most sense to me.
Can I just comment, Mia Maria, that I just love the way that you share what you do, and your true self is really shining through all your messages, all your selfies, your stories, and it's just beautiful to watch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love your support.
Kindred spirits.
What?
Kindred spirits.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I heard Kinder Bueno, Harry. I think I might get me some.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mia Maria.
Listening to whatever came up.
Yeah, I love what you're doing actually, and thank you for sharing what you're seeing. And like what's beautiful about this understanding, that's when we really see how our experience of life is experienced, we don't need to do anything about it to experience life, because we are already using these three principles. It's like we see how something really works. And so our like we just become better at what we do automatically, without trying to do something about it. And I think it comes with dropping a lot of ego misunderstandings that we've accumulated throughout our lives, really, since our since we were kids. And so, like, I mean, like when I came across this understanding, I had a lot of, I was conditioned in a way to believe that the world works this way, my way, and better be true, because I'll, make sure to prove my point here, because I want to be right, Can you see the ego here? So I was trying to defend something that is not even true. And what I mean by not true is that it's not permanent. What is not permanent is not true. So like these webinars is basically to point us back to the ultimate truth, the truth, who we truly are. And that is the only thing that is permanent. So when Rubina said that ego for her doesn't exist, that makes sense to me, because the only thing that there is that within us. That's really it. And we are using different words, different phrases, expressions to just point us back to that. And there is no specific word to point out that. That's the mysterious parts of the three principles, but it's really much deeper than just getting it on an intellectual level. Once heard from my soul to your soul, that's a different thing. That's when it clicks. That's when we actually hear it. We see it. So thank you again, Mia Maria. Good to have you here. Harry, I think I think it's time to end this beautiful conversation. I know you can't wait to go out because you're still on vacation. You're going back to cold Canada soon. It's snowing. Yeah. I love how you're using the gift of thought that you have a cold experience right now, Harry. In hot Mexico.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a beautiful conversation, Harry. Thank you
It was a beautiful call. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom as always. Yeah, congratulations for your upcoming 5th book. Exciting times.
Yeah.
I also would love to thank everyone who joined us today and the people who are watching on Facebook. Thank you for joining us, for sharing your insights, asking questions, whatever. Thank you so much for your support. And yes, Harry, would you like to say something?
Just that the next 2 shows are going to be special shows. We'll be talking about the Muslim and Jewish connection in life. The next show is the similarities and differences between the 2 faiths. Ruby will be the representative of the first show with the Islam, and Yael will be representing the Israeli perspective. And then the second show in February will have Rabbi Shaul Rosenblatt and Professor Abdallah, unbelievable human being, talking from a philosophical perspective of it as well. And both bound to bring in a healing, because I love both the Jewish and the Muslim people a lot. And the show what Omar and I have created is a tribute where the differences is not what makes a beautiful show. Love makes a beautiful show. So,
It's really about seeing beyond our differences.
absolutely. That's what in fact, that's what the show is, the next two shows are about.
And it's funny enough, this is I got invited last March by Joe Bailey in his podcast, the Thriving in the Eye of Hurricane, and he asked me to share on that. So it was perfect. It was a really good topic to share about, and it was a beautiful conversation. So looking forward to the next show. Thank you all.
Thank
have
you,
a good
people.
day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are.
Hasta la vista, amigos. Off to the sun and the swimming pool.